What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Niche Notable podcast with Nick and 40. Today, we have a very special guest, one that I've been looking forward to for a while now, Adam BRENEMAN. He's a former All-American tight end from Penn State and UMass. He's the host of the Next Up podcast. He's the founder of the College Sports Company. He's a football analyst and broadcaster and media entrepreneur. Adam, welcome to the pod.
What's up, Nick? Appreciate having me on, man. I'm glad you started doing the pod and creating content. So I'm fired up to talk to you.
Yeah, so a bunch of people have been asking me lately, like, what do you want to do after football? What's your goal? And I feel like what you're doing right now is sort of the vision of what I sort of want to do after these football days. So I think a few days ago, you wrote an Instagram post where you said, "I'm the niche," and you don't have to choose a box to fit into. What does that really mean to you? Because you're obviously involved in so many different things right now.
Yeah, great question. I feel like a lot of times people tell you when you get into whatever field you're in that you have to kind of pick the lane you want to be in. Do you want to be a broadcaster on TV? Do you want to be an analyst? Do you want to be in business? Do you want to, whatever it is, people kind of tell you got to focus on one thing and go all in. And, I have struggled throughout my career with juggling the different hats I wear to figuring out what is the niche I'm in. Am I going to be a college football analyst? Do I talk about other sports? Am I talking about sports betting? Am I a businessman? Am I investing in companies? What is the niche that I'm going to be in? And then, it clicked for me at one point that I am the niche. What I do is the actual niche in itself. And I can be that niche on social media, online. I can be the guy who calls football games on CBS and hosts a podcast where he interviews coaches and players and runs a media company and invests in companies and businesses and does this and that. Like, I can be all of that at the same time. You think about a guy like Gary Vaynerchuk. He talks about this a lot too. Gary V is a wine guy. He has a media company. He's a public speaker. Like, he didn't just pick a niche. He became the niche and created it himself. And I'm a big believer in that. So I tell people all the time, you don't need to try to fit into a lane. You are the lane. You are the niche, and you can do whatever you really want to. And for most people, it just comes down to self-awareness and what makes you happy. What do you really want to do? And that's the lane, and that's your niche.
I think that's awesome. Have you always had that entrepreneurial mindset that, like, whatever interests you have, you want to attack that and explore those business opportunities?
Yeah, I've always been business-minded and motivated. I've always been extremely ambitious. I have wanted, for a long time, have had big dreams and goals and aspirations. I, have always wanted to build something big. And I think one thing for me, I love putting a team together around me. I love having people with me that I care about and that can help propel things forward. I love doing deals. I love negotiating and getting things getting things done to the finish line, whether it's hiring somebody, whether it's acquiring something, whether it's investing, whether it's doing a deal for media, a sponsorship deal. Whether it's for my podcast, I like doing deals. I like getting things done and putting good pieces together. So I've always been extremely business minded. My dad was a businessman. I grew up watching him be in business, so that's kind of helped me get to where I am today.
Gotcha. And when you decide to, like, work with a certain partner or hire an employee, what are the non-negotiable qualities that you look for in them that you feel like will align with what you're trying to do?
Yeah, it's a great question. A few non-negotiables I have for people I'm going to work with or partner with. I'd say one is you got to have a tenacity to you. You have to have an ability to move fast and make things happen and get things done. I think that's the biggest thing I see in people. You kind of almost have it or you don't. Or do you have that ability to just fight through the noise and get things done and be productive? I think be a good person is always important. Just, do you care about people other than yourself? Are you a good human being who treats people well? I'd say, I think honesty is important. And is this person someone who's going to tell me the truth no matter if it's good or bad? Is it someone who I know is going to keep it straight with me all the time? I think that's critical. There's a bunch of traits that I think good, successful people have, but those are the three that I look at. I say, is this person tenacious? Do I believe in them? Are they honest? And are they a good person? And I think if you have those three things, you can get pretty far in life. I mean, we all know people who are so talented and extremely smart, but those aren't the people that often are the most successful. It's like there's someone out there who's a better three-point shooter than Steph Curry, but they just don't know it. They didn't put the work in. There's someone out there who's a better golfer than Tiger Woods. But they didn't have the brain power, the mental stamina, the discipline that Tiger Woods had. So I always think about that, and it is often the little things, the mindset that separates people in the end.
Yeah, do you feel like it's sort of the impatience almost? Everybody sort of has their goals and things they want to achieve, but having the
Yeah.
impatience to make it happen instead of letting things come to you?
No doubt. I mean, there is no time for patience in business, in the world of media, in entrepreneurship. I mean, you just don't have time for it. You got to move, and you got to move fast. I always talk about the only thing that matters as you build business is the speed of decision making. How many decisions can we make? And because people try to talk about making the perfect decision, but really just making a decision allows you to learn a lot in that process and maybe makes that decision the right one in the future. And people often, when it comes to decision making, think about the risk of if they say yes, right? So, okay, if I say yes to this arrangement, what could go wrong? What's the negative side of it? What people often don't think about is the risk of saying no. What is the risk if I turn it down? What are the things that could happen because of that? What is the opportunity I could have lost if I say no to that opportunity? If I say no to this deal, this opportunity. So I think human beings have a bias towards the risk associated with a yes, but I think the risk with the no is something I try to think about as well too. When I think about a deal, an opportunity, a partnership, if it's something I want to go through with. So yeah, I mean, I think that the rate of decision making is so important. You got to make decisions because it teaches you so much along the process. And I'd rather us make 5 wrong decisions than make no decisions at all.
That's awesome. I mean, I asked that question, but it's really just for me. Something that I was really looking to get at. So, moving on a little bit. So, I
Yeah.
feel like you're one of the biggest voices in the NIL space nowadays. How do you feel like student athletes can best market themselves? Is it signing on with an agency? Is it creating their own media on their own? What are some ways that student athletes can create more of a brand?
Yeah, I think it's creating their own media, creating their own content. That is how student athletes can be at their very best. It is content is king. And if student athletes want to grow, want to be better, want to build their business outside of their sport, it's all about content. For student athletes that are especially football, basketball, you may never again in your life be as relevant as you are right now. And one of my biggest regrets is that I didn't create content when I was playing. When you're playing, it's a little bit easier to get people to follow you. It's a little bit easier to get people to answer your phone calls. You're a little bit cooler and better looking when you're a current athlete. So you may never again be as relevant as you are in this very moment if you're a current athlete. So now's the time to start creating content. Don't do what I did and wait till you're done playing to start creating content. And now you're just the former player who's making videos. You can still do it and be successful, don't get me wrong. But I think a big mistake people say is, hey, I'll do that when I'm done. And that's why, Nick, you've done a great job of starting this thing right when you did, because you can leverage all of that together, and you don't wait till you're, late 20s deciding, hey, I want to be in media now. You do it and build that foundation while you're a current athlete.
Yeah, so we were talking about it before we started the podcast, and I feel like you've inspired me to start this pod because waiting till after you graduate, it was just too late, and I was just looking for something in sports, and I thought no better way to market yourself than create your own podcast, your own
Yeah.
brand, where you're able to express your own opinions, your own story. So I thank you for that, and really expanding the network and the platform for all of these podcasters and whatnot. So thank you.
No, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
love what you're doing. It's the right thing to do for sure.
Absolutely. So taking things back, if during your days in high school when you're getting recruited, if NIL was a thing, what would be some things that you would be looking for in a school, in like an NIL space that would be keys in order to pick the right school for you?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'd say, no matter how much money you're making or getting paid, the fit in that system is really important. I think you see a lot of guys who may chase the paycheck, but how do you fit into that offense or defense or that locker room that could affect the rest of your career? The reality is a lot of guys, their biggest check is still going to come from the pros, from the NFL, from that contract, and not from a few $100,000 NIL deal. I'll say part two is you really got to have a coaching staff that you believe in and trust. I mean, in the days of NIL right now, there is a lot of money getting thrown around, and for an athlete, you better believe what the coaches tell you, and you better know that they're going to follow through in whether it's payment, whether it's playing time, whatever it is. So I'm a big believer in going to a place because you believe in the head coach. I know that people, say don't make that kind of decision because the coach could leave. Well, that's when players can also transfer. So, and I'm a fan of the transfer portal. Listen, I think it's tough to ask an athlete that's 16, 17, 18 years old to make the right decision one time in the beginning. I think athletes should get the chance to get it right a second time. That's what you can do if a coach leaves. But I think you got to find the right coach that you believe in playing for.
Gotcha. And you think like 10 years down the road, like what will the NIL space look like, and where do you see yourself fitting in that? Do you want to continue making that your primary focus, or where do you see yourself in that picture?
Yeah, great question. I mean, for me, it's just a matter of building the business and the brand around sports and football. I mean, I hope to continue to be a big name in NIL and college football. I want to keep growing my podcast to be having big interviews and conversations. I want to be a major voice in NIL and college sports business and college recruiting and all that goes into it. For NIL itself, I think we won't even be talking about NIL in 10 years. I think athletes will just be straight employees of the schools. That is one of the major issues in college right now is that everyone who's in charge in college athletics refuses to say the dirty word of employee. No one calls them employees, and that's what they are. They're paid to do a service, to support the enterprise value of the school, to help the school drive business and revenue, but they're treated like student athletes. I mean, that's a BS statement, and we all know it. They're employees, and until we call the athletes employees, there'll continue to be issues because you can't collectively bargain. You can't have a players union or a players association when the players aren't employees.
I got you. Yeah, I feel like that's like the biggest conversation right now. So
Yeah.
like definitely nailed that. So your podcast, the Next Up, I think it's one of the coolest podcasts out there. You've had close to 150 episodes around there, maybe?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so if there's one podcast that you've produced in the past that you would like listeners to listen to that really encapsulates your podcast as a whole, is there one that you would prefer people to watch
It's a
or
great
listen
question.
to?
Great question. I'd say, oh man, I've never been asked that before. There's a few of them. I'd say the interview I did with Christian Hackenberg was really good. That was one of the first big ones I did that my former teammate, he kind of opened up on that show and talked about things he never talked about before and gave fans an inside perspective. So I was really proud of that episode. I'd say a lot of these ones I did with head coaches, whether it's Dan Lanning at Oregon or Kalen DeBoer at Alabama or James Franklin at Penn State or Jed Fish at Washington, Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame, Sharon Moore at Michigan. Some of these were huge interviews. And Nick, it's tough to get a head coach to sit down for an hour and talk about their life story. But we've created a cool brand with the podcast where coaches are willing to say yes to that. And we get the kind of behind the scenes, peel the curtain back. What was it like your first day on the job? What was the first moment that you thought this was a huge challenge? James Franklin is on my podcast talking about him walking off the field year 2 or 3 at Penn State and the fans chanting "Fire Franklin," and talks about that moment and what it did to his family. Those are the cool conversations that I try to have, and I think we've done a good job of just making it a different environment than most podcasts are. And I think coaches, players, all them, when they come on the show, they know what they're getting into, and I take a lot of pride in that.
100%. I see your clips everywhere. All my friends, we talk about them all the time. When you're heading into those interviews, do you still get nervous before those? And how are you able to control yourself and just stay present in the moment walking in?
I don't get that nervous for interviews anymore. I used to. I mean, I would say this. I was nervous for a couple interviews. My team would tell you this because they could tell when I was there. I was nervous to interview Johnny Manziel. That was one a few months ago I was nervous for. I don't know why. I just was nervous for him. I think part of it was I didn't know how he was going to take the interview. I didn't really know. His people had set it up for him. I don't really know Johnny, so it was one I was a little interested to see how it played out. It ended up being a good interview. I was nervous to interview Lincoln Riley at USC. That was a nerve-wracking one, just because I didn't know some of these coaches I know personally, so it makes it for a better interview. But I didn't know Lincoln Riley. Now he ended up being awesome, great interview. That's another conversation people should listen to. I don't really get nervous anymore. I prepare for the interviews, but I try to go in with kind of a blank slate. I try to have some questions I'm going to ask, but I want to be able to flow the conversation. And you're doing a great job of it right now, but just kind of, hey, if he brings something up, double down on that, or, feel like we're having a real convo and not just grilling him with questions. So I try almost to like lower my preparation and not write out all 20 questions I want to ask the coach.
I got you. Yeah, I think when I first started, I tried to script the entire thing. And over time, I realized you sort of just have to be able to adapt to however the conversation
It's a great way to
is
put it.
flowing.
Adaptability.
Absolutely. All right, so heading into our last question of the day, niche notable question. So I'm sure you saw Dave Portnoy and Barstool are linking up with Fox Sports. Which show do you think will gain more attention this season? College Game Day or Big Noon Kickoff?
It's a great question, man. Tough. I think, listen, ESPN's such a monster of a network that they have so much attention. But the buzz right now is with Big Noon Kickoff, and they've done a great job. I mean, I'll say this. They have completely transformed noon kickoff in college football. And it is one of the best marketing plays that we've seen in recent sports history. What Big Noon Kickoff has done and Fox Sports has done to turn that noon slate into it used to be a freaking snoozer, a sleep fest. No one cared about the noon slate. They have turned that into a spectacle every week of a huge game, of Big Noon Kickoff, of having Brady Quinn and Matt Leinart and Urban Meyer and now Dave Portnoy and the Barstool crew on that show. It is awesome to see, and it's good for the sport. It's great for college football. It's great for the excitement. It's good that there's two shows you can bounce back and forth with between ESPN and college and Big Noon. For most college football people like me, I watch both of them. I'm bouncing back and forth. I think it's a value add for to have both these things in the college football ecosystem. Fox has done a great job. College Game Day, I would bet, is always higher on the ratings because it's ESPN and it's the granddaddy of them all. It's the four letters and the premier sports network. So I love College Game Day. I really love what Big Noon's done and how they've grown that brand. And it's cool to see when marketing and brand can really transform how viewers and fans participate in a game like that.
Yeah, I think it's huge. Obviously, college football is at its peak right now, and I think it's only getting bigger. So I think those two networks have really helped to expand the audience and whatnot. So it's pretty awesome to see. Yeah, so that's all we got. I'm sorry. Go on.
Can I ask you a question to end the show?
Yeah.
Where do you want this podcast to be in 5 years?
That's a great question. I think when I first started, I was like, I want to be Pat McAfee. I want to be, that show. I wanted that to transcend to national networks. But I think right now I just want to take it day by day and just expand my own sort of network. I think you're a name that I've had circled on my notebook for months now. And if I can just keep stacking the relationships I can build, who knows? We'll see where the pod can take me, but I'm pretty excited about it now, and that's the first time somebody's asked me a question. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
No, it's I'll say this, man. You get a lot of credit just for showing up and doing it. I mean, a lot of people talk about doing a podcast. A lot of people want to do this kind. A lot of people like just even you reaching out to me. I mean, there's value in just, as we talked about earlier, just doing it, just getting it done. And you'd be surprised. Like, you get a lot of credit in life and can go really far by just being the one that shows up every single day. And I'll tell you this, dude, like, there's times where I do not want to shoot podcasts. I don't want to do content. I don't want to do meetings, but I just keep showing up. And I think that eventually it pays off. So you're on the right track, and I'll keep following. And if you're ever I'm in New York City now, so if you're ever in New York City, let me know. You can come hang out for the day and see how we do content and stuff.
That'd be awesome. That's the plan after I graduate. Cool. Head there, but pretty cool stuff. Fired me up. I think this was a great podcast. Thanks for coming on. Yeah. I'm excited to see wherever you take all your endeavors, all those 15 things that you're doing. So pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Talk soon.
Yeah.